Hi, everybody. I'm going to start out by introducing myself and telling you a little bit about what I do on campus here. My name is Noah Kilmer. I'm a senior this year. I'm from Homer, New York. I am a biochemistry major with a minor in psychology, and I'm also a Blackwell Scholar. And the Blackwell Scholarship is named after Hobart alum Elizabeth Blackwell, who was the first woman to receive a medical degree in the United States. I would say that my main extracurricular is research, and I actually conduct research with Professor Stennett, who we will be asking questions to later. But I'm also the vice president of the PreHealth Club, and I'm an executive board member of the American Chemical Society student chapter. After I graduate this May, I plan to take a year kind of off, but I'm really going to be preparing to go to law school. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what research Professor Stennett and I conduct on campus. So this semester, I am looking at pharmaceuticals in water and water treatment of pharmaceuticals, but in a much broader context, we look at water filtration in general. And throughout my years, I've been doing research with Professor Stennett for a couple of years now, and we have looked at different types of membranes in water filtration, different buffer systems in water filtration, and different proteins in water filtration. But I was inspired to look at pharmaceuticals after we went to the American Chemical Society National Meeting in San Diego, California last fall. And the whole idea of that meeting was actually about water. So one of the talks that we went to focused on pharmaceuticals in water, and I was really inspired by it, and I saw a lot of connections between what we were doing in lab and what he was talking about. So I wanted to apply that to what I was looking at this semester. I just want to say that if you guys have any questions during this conversation, feel free to drop it in the chat. You can either send it to the whole group or just to me, and I'll see it and I will acknowledge it either at the end when we get to questions, or if it's pertinent to what we were talking about, I can ask it then as well. So I'm going to start with my first question for Professor Stennett here. Could you tell us a little bit about your own background and expand upon the research that both I am doing and the other members of our lab?
Absolutely. So I too went to a liberal arts college, and starting very quickly doing research with one of my faculty members. And that's what really inspired me to continue past undergraduate into graduate school. So I got my PhD in biophysical chemistry from Arizona State University before teaching for a year at a liberal arts college like HWS in Ohio. I've been at HWS since 2016. And I'm a member of the chemistry department. But the research my group does, like Noah says, we look at water filtration. But we're very interested in trying to understand what some of the fundamental interactions are that hinder water filtration, specifically when you use a membrane and the membrane becomes clogged. So trying to understand the chemistry of what's involved in that process. So what we can do is try to create solutions to the problem.
Awesome. So I've worked with you for quite a while now, and we definitely have worked together a lot. Can you tell us a little bit about the ways that students and faculty collaborate on campus, and also about how general advising works?
Sure. So I just want to mention that to everybody. So Noah thinks he's graduating in May, but I'm not sure that I'm actually going to let him graduate in May.
I have a lot left to talk about with pharmaceuticals and water.
Yes, he's really become a very important member of the group, training other students that come in. And so I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do when he actually does graduate, which he will in May, but it's going to be very sad. So the question was about interacting with faculty, research, and general advising. So when you declare a major at HWS, the way that we do it is you actually pick your advisor. And the idea is that at HWS, we really care about the connection between faculty and students. And it's all about forming those connections, forming those relationships, and the faculty are here to help you. And so you pick a faculty member when you pick your advisor that you have a good relationship with, or you're interested in working with them more, because you're going to spend the next 2-ish years or so collaborating with them, making sure you're making progress towards your degree, getting all the necessary courses so you can actually graduate on time. So you get to know that faculty member really well. But the other thing that we offer at HWS is this ability to do research. And there are different ways that you can do that. So over the summer, we have summer research programs you can apply to spend anywhere from 4 to 6 to 8 weeks with a faculty member at HWS. But we also offer independent studies. And that's actually how Noah got started working in my lab. He came to me one fall and was like, I'm really enjoying my classes, but I'm also interested in learning more what is research, what's involved with it. And so he's actually volunteered in my lab, but he's also earned course credit. You can earn a full credit, you can earn half credit towards your degree. So all of the chemistry faculty specifically, I can speak more about that since that's my department, and a lot of the biology faculty as well, we're research active. So what that means is we have a research program, we have research goals that we are trying to accomplish, and we love working with students. So part of the reason why I came here is I really wanted to get to know my students and get the opportunity to introduce them to research, because I can teach you about chemistry in the classroom, but it's really once you start doing research and doing that problem solving and diving into a problem that you really kind of learn what the field is about. That's how I fell in love with chemistry. And so I think one of the great things is this opportunity to do research and to get to know maybe a different faculty member or get to know a faculty member even more because you're collaborating on this research project.
Nice. I do want to say that Professor Stennett is actually not my academic advisor either. I actually have another academic advisor that I meet with every semester to talk about like my courses, and I have a really great relationship with her too. But Professor Stennett is my research advisor, and I do go to her with questions about academics too. So we have formed a great relationship where we can talk about classes and like how things are going outside of that like formal like advising meeting.
And that you're not alone in that too. And that's one of the nice things is you can actually get to know a lot of different faculty members.
So we've been talking a lot about the chemistry department, but the natural sciences at HWS offer a wide range of diverse classes and subjects. Could you talk to us a little bit about like what it looks like in the natural sciences curriculum wise?
Sure. So the big thing at HWS is the faculty have really worked to provide flexibility in the curriculum. So at HWS, I'm sure you've heard, study abroad is very important thing to us. And now in chemistry, there's a certain order in how you have to take some classes, but the faculty have kind of looked at this and said, okay, where can we allow flexibility to allow students to maybe study abroad and not take any chemistry classes, or if they want to take chemistry classes. But also too, working to allow students to not just have to take science courses. That's one of the great things about the liberal arts that we want you to experience is taking an art history class or taking a religious studies class. And so having the flexibility to really expand and see what you enjoy doing while also doing chemistry or biology if that's what's interesting to you. I will also say that we have a biochemistry major, just like Noah is a major, he's majoring in biochemistry. And so that's really a collaboration between the biology and chemistry departments. So working the faculty from those two departments working together to try to offer an opportunity that we know a lot of students are really interested in, kind of working at that interface between both subjects.
And I will say that the nice and interesting thing about the biochemistry major is that it isn't just the bio and chem major slapped together. It's actually very different. We actually have like specific biochem courses that we have to take that focus on like biochemical interactions. Whereas if you were a bio major with a chem minor or a chem major with a bio minor, you wouldn't necessarily get those same like biochem ideas, even though it is like a kind of the best of both worlds situation, but it also is different. And I also wanted to say something to Professor Snett's point about being able to take other classes. I decided a couple years ago that I was going to take a writing class, and I have taken a writing class every semester since because I just kind of fell in love with the way that I just really enjoyed the classes. So even though it's not even my major or minor, I still have the flexibility in my schedule to take it, even though I'm a biochemistry major, which is a lot of like classes and a lot of time. I noticed that someone raised their hand. Did you have a question?
Yes, I did. So like for me, I want to major in environmental sciences and engineering, and I wanted to know what classes would I have to partake in order to like learn the stuff I need to learn.
So I am not going to be able to answer that specifically because I am not even close to an engineer or an environmental scientist, but
So
those are definitely questions that you could reach out to the individual departments with. Professor Stennett, did you want to?
yeah, so we have an environmental studies major, and so that is something separate. And then you can take, we have a 3-1 or 3-2 program with engineering, and so those are very different requirements. So just like Noah said, if that's something that you're interested in, the website for those two academics, we've worked hard to make sure those are updated. So there are people there, and I'm sure admissions would be happy to get you in touch with some faculty members. Um, if you have an idea of what you're interested in studying, you can go ahead and talk to those faculty members about how can I fit this into my schedule? What would this look like? What are my semesters looking like? What classes should I take? That's something that they can hook you up and get you sorted with.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Mhm. So, Professor Stennett, my next question for you. So, I plan on going to law school in the future, and that's definitely something we've talked about a lot, and you have advised me on. What are some other things that other students in your lab or in your advising group have gone on to do after graduation?
It's pretty varied. So a couple students have gone on to graduate school focusing on chemistry. I've had a couple actually move into chemical engineering. Um, some are working in the medical field. One of my previous research students just started dentist school. Um, and others I know are interested in going to medical school or veterinary school. And then even others have gone into the job force, started working as lab technicians or working in a hospital as they're trying to decide exactly what they want to do next.
Mhm. So this is going to be my last question for you, Professor Stennett, before we open it up to the audience. But how would you make a case for using a liberal arts education if you are interested in chemistry or another natural science?
So there's two arguments I would make here. So first of all, because HWS, the liberal arts, we are able to have small classes. And so what that means is that the faculty are able to get to know our students. We get to form closer relationships than what you might get at a bigger university. And we really do care about our students. Some of my Intro Chem 2 students right now are getting emails from me like, schedule an appointment. I want to chat and make sure you're on board for passing this class and getting through what you need to. But the other thing too that I think is really important, because I came too from a liberal arts background, is that while you are taking chemistry, you're learning biology or any other of these natural science classes, the important thing about the liberal arts education is it's expanding your mind, it's expanding and helping you grow as an individual, providing you with different perspectives. And a big thing, what we're realizing is we have a lot of serious problems facing our society right now, and we need some creative solutions. And these creative solutions are when we can get diversity and different thoughts and different experiences to come up with more innovative or better solutions to what we're facing right now. And so I think that's one thing that the liberal arts can really offer us, is allow us that opportunity to be better scientists.
Definitely, definitely. So I have some questions that people submitted through the chat. And also, if you want to keep submitting questions, please do that. But I'm going to start with this first question. Professor Stennett, what are some of the biggest like combos of majors and minors that you see usually paired with the natural sciences or like amongst the natural sciences?
Okay, so that can actually vary. Um, Oftentimes what you might see is a major in a natural science with a minor in math. is it a chemistry major, math minor, or a biology major, math minor. Sometimes it might be computer science major with a philosophy minor. I have a current research student who's majoring in chemistry, minoring in art history. There are others like Noah that are minoring in psychology or doing some kind of double major with psychology. But we also have a really big population of pre-med students. And so I would say another very popular combination would be maybe a biochemistry major with a PreHealth minor. We do have a minor specifically geared towards helping students prepare for that medical field afterwards. Those are probably, I think, some of the major ones I can think of. Do you know of any more, Noah?
I think probably the biggest one that I know of is definitely psychology. Psychology is a very popular minor and major, especially paired with the natural sciences, because it's still treated as a science here, but it does offer you a lot of like different ways of thinking about like problems, like you were talking about earlier. It's good to think about different problems. The PreHealth minor is popular, but I will say just a slight thing on that point. It necessarily doesn't get you the requirements that you need. It's more of a way to like expand your horizons in terms of like health and like thinking about health in society. So if you are going to be pre-med, it's a good way to like have things to talk about in like interviews or different applications. It lets you really take advantage of the liberal arts idea as well as like taking your science classes still. Yeah, I think that those are probably the big ones. Environmental studies is also one that often gets.
That's true. Oftentimes, a double major, environmental studies with chemistry or environmental studies with geoscience or biology. Yeah.
So we have a question here. This is probably a really good question for you. How big are your intro chem courses usually?
Okay, so they're in chemistry, we have different tracks. So we offer a 2-semester general chemistry course. And so you don't have to take both semesters. Our first semester is Intro Chem 1, Chem 110. And that usually ranges in size from 26 to 36, maybe up to 40. And then the second semester you would take 120. That usually averages, right now I have 21 students. But then we also offer an accelerated general chemistry course that is Chem 190. And so that is both semesters smushed into one. And that usually averages, I would say, probably 10 to 18 students.
And there was a second part to this question about intro classes in general, and I will talk about that. I would say that most of my intro classes were no bigger than 25 to 30 students. I would say that maximum, like the most you would ever see in a class is 40. Usually the professors cap it at that level, so you would never see any more than that. But I will say that it always feels very personal. So I had Professor Stennett for one semester before I was comfortable enough to approach her for research. So like you do definitely get to know your professor even in your intro classes. But every year your classes definitely do get smaller. So my senior seminar right now is only 10 students. So you get every after you get past the intro classes, they get smaller and smaller.
I think your intro class had about 36 to 38 students, Noah, too.
So another question we have, if you do want to be pre-med, do you need to major in chem, biochem, or bio?
Absolutely not. And actually what I tell a lot of students is don't feel like you have to major in a science at all if you're pre-med. You know, this college is the time to explore what you like. And so why not major in history? And then you can still take the science classes as a minor or as a double major and still get those requirements to go into medical school. But by no means do you have to major in a science. Now, hopefully you enjoy the science classes if you want to go into medical school, because you're going to get a lot more of the science. But don't feel locked into having to major in a science major to go to medical school.
I remember there was a girl last year who graduated that was planning on going to medical school, and she was a sociology major because she was more interested in the ways that people, like, of dealing with people, And she wanted to really incorporate that into like her healthcare practices. So she decided to major in sociology before going to medical school. So you talked about this a little bit earlier, but someone asked if you can go abroad as a science major.
Absolutely. So this is actually something the chemistry department was just, the faculty in the department were just talking about, because it is something that we think is very important. I myself went abroad during the summers when I was an undergrad student, and it really changes your perspective. So I think if you have the opportunity to go abroad, you absolutely should. It is something that if you are a science major, you do need to just be aware and you need to plan carefully. There are certain programs that we have abroad where you can take classes that would help towards your science degree, but not all of the locations offer that possibility. So if you want to study abroad, then when you come in, when you declare your major, talk to your advisor, that's something that you should talk to them right up front. I have an advisee who is double majoring in math and chemistry, and she wants to study abroad. And so she knew that to do that, she would have to take a lot of chemistry and math, but that's fine. She's worked her schedule, so she's able to study abroad, but she can still meet the requirements for both of her majors. It's just something that you need to plan and you work with your advisor on to how to make that happen.
I will just say that I know a ton of biochem students who have gone abroad. My one of my housemates is a bio major. She went to Copenhagen. She's perfectly on track to graduate. Honestly, she didn't even really have to like cram that much. It kind of just fit into her schedule. So it really is something you have to plan for, but sometimes it's not even like, oh, I have to completely arrange my schedule around this. Sometimes it just fits. So if that's something you want to do, definitely talk to your advisor about it, because you can make it work. So the next question was why I chose to come here. And that's actually it's a little fun story. So I had never heard of this school, and my mom was doing some research, and I had already decided that I was going to Colgate, so I didn't care. And she was telling me, she would wake me up every morning and be like, Noah, I really think you should just schedule a tour. I really just think you should do it. Like, it can't hurt, right? And I was finally like, fine, just to appease you, I'll schedule the tour. And I schedule it, and I come in and I walk onto campus. And the second I pulled onto campus, I was like, maybe I should start reconsidering. And the Gearin Center, the beautiful performing arts center on campus, had just finished construction, and they brought us all into this gorgeous theater, and we're all sitting there, and everyone's just chatting, and I'm sitting there thinking, that application that's sitting in my Common App right now is looking like it might be changing. And so I go on the tour, and my tour guide was awesome. And he was telling us all about the different bio, because at that point I was wanted to be a bio major, all the different bio opportunities on campus and how research. And I was like, okay. I'm thinking this is it. So I scheduled an interview at Colgate, and I walked in and I sat down with the person. I had a list of questions, and I asked all my questions, and I didn't like a single answer that I got. So that day I typed up my Common App and submitted an early decision here, and I've been here ever since.
And now your sister goes here too.
And now my sister's a freshman this year as well. So
Yep.
apparently I sold it to her pretty well too, because she also decided to come here. Does anyone else have any questions? If there aren't any more questions. Oh, sorry. Wait, did somebody say something?
Am I able to ask one if I say it out loud?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I encourage it.
Well, so I am from Maine, so I can't really come and visit in person or like see what the campus is like, kind of thing. Oh, I didn't realize I don't have my camera on either. But so I was just wondering, I also can't really get a feel for like the student body, like how you would describe that, like what it feels like to be around the different students and environments there, and what there are for opportunities to make friends and get involved. Because
that's a great question. Okay, so I'm going to start out by talking about campus. So I would say that we have a relatively large campus for the size of the institution that we have. So you would never, you don't feel cramped. We have nice, beautiful green quads, like lots of space around, but also it's not so big that you have to drive to class every day. It's like perfectly walkable. It's even walkable to get downtown into the city of Geneva. So you can walk across the street to Wegmans, to the grocery store, and get things. But it kind of does give that nice halfway between, like, it's a small school but a larger campus, but you don't have to like run to class because it's so big.
There's 10 minutes between classes, and that's usually enough time. Even if you have to cross campus, you have, except for the art campus, maybe the art campus is maybe 10, 15 minutes or a brisk walk. But you can still get around quite easily.
So we do have live tours going on. So if anybody else in the group wants to schedule live tours to come and see campus, that is an option for them. But I understand not being able to come. So I had my freshman year a class in the two farthest buildings away, like on main campus. And we had 10 minutes in between classes, and I was always early. So if that gives you a good idea of like the size of campus, then yes. The arts campus is a little bit farther away, but it's not significantly farther where you would have to drive. You can walk to the arts campus. So to talk about the student body, I'm going to talk specifically about the sciences because I think that is my personal experience. But I have a lot of people that I knew freshman year in the sciences that I'm actually friends with today, not just like in class acquaintances, but like we do things outside of class. I think that in a lot of ways the sciences bring people together. I would say actually almost all of my friends are science majors. It kind of just has this like natural way of like bringing people together. Like you study together, you do all your work together, you're going through the same tracks, and even like biochem, chem, physics, you're always taking classes together. So it definitely fosters an environment of like collaboration too. So you're always going to be around people and you're always going to be friends with people. I will say that this semester with COVID going on, it has been a little bit more challenging, and my sister is a freshman, so I kind of have gotten to see that firsthand, but you work around it, and the people here, everyone's looking for friends. So it's really just an trying to like find those people. That's just the college experience.
And
I just want to say there at the start of every semester, there's also an expo where all of the student clubs and organizations advertise like, this is what we are, this is what we do. Feel free to sign up and join our group. So I think even, no matter what year you are, what interests you have, you can find a group of people that are interested in that as well, and make lots of different connections. So don't think you're obviously the people you take classes with, that's easy, but there are ways if you have other interests to meet different people and to interact with others across the campus too. And each student club has a faculty advisor, so you can interact with faculty from different areas as well.
So I just got another question.
Hold on, I think she had one more question.
I was just gonna ask if I just like the outdoors a lot, and it seems like a good area for like doing things in the outdoors. It's just kind of a good way to take my mind off of like schoolwork and then kind of create a balance. Are there a lot of things that you find to do kind of around the area?
Absolutely. And also to that point, there's actually a club on campus called POAP, and they take students on different outdoor activities all the time. They do kayaking trips, they do hiking trips. I remember one year they did an ice climbing trip where they took people to like an ice cliff, and they had pickaxes and they climbed it with like spikes in their shoes. Like it's like we as a campus foster a lot of like outdoor activities. And also before orientation, there's actually like a pre-orientation program where you can go on a multitude of different like outdoor adventures to meet more people. There's one that goes to the Adirondacks and you go hiking in the high peaks. And there's one that goes to a sailing club and you go sailing for a couple days. And there's one that goes on a canoe trip. So there's lots of, I would say that that's probably one thing we have in spades is opportunities to be outside. And also we're right on the lake. So a lot of people do go swimming in the lake or enjoying different like water activities too.
Yeah, I was going to say it's really easy to get to the lake. It's actually a really easy walk to get down to the state park for the Seneca Lake State Park. And especially on nice days like today, you know, everyone's outside and enjoying that. So yeah, I would agree with what Noah said.
So I have one question right here. This is a question for you, Professor Stennett. So do research opportunities ever run out on campus?
Well, I think it depends. So I will speak purely as a scientist because that is my experience. There are research opportunities in other fields, but in the sciences, I guess you could say sometimes faculty are not accepting students, but I would say that's a pretty rare occurrence. Sometimes we do have, like for summer research, we had a lot of students apply, so not everyone was allowed to, was not awarded a possibility. But I would say I've never, except for summer research, I've never had a student come to me and say, I'd like to do research, and I say no. Depending on how busy you are, the faculty might say, you know, I'm not available this semester, but you know, why don't you talk to my colleague on the hall? Or I've had a few students that was like, Professor such and such recommended maybe I talk to you because I'm interested in doing research. So I think if it's something that you are interested in and you really want to experience, you have the opportunity to do that. That is definitely a possibility. Like I mentioned, all the chemistry faculty are really, we are research active. We want students to work with us. So often too, at certain times, we're like, students, come work with us, please. So I think if it's something that appeals to you and you're interested in, you may not be able to do it right at that moment, but you can get research opportunities if that's what you're interested in.
And also, I will say that every year, both the bio and the chem departments have a meeting at night where the faculty there present their research, and you kind of can get to see what each professor is doing on campus. And it's a good opportunity to go and talk to them about their research. And it's very much encouraged to go and speak to the individual professors about their particular research. And even if it's mostly geared towards summer research, but even then you don't have to want to do summer research. I didn't really want to do summer research, and I've still had quite a research experience while I've been here.
I think you've worked maybe 6 semesters maybe in the lab, Noah.
Yeah.
So obviously if a student comes and talks to me, you know, I will do what I can to make sure I can provide them with research experience. And I know a lot of my colleagues are the exact same way. So the student that, you know, you want to be sure that you're talking to your faculty member about that. And that is something I think I see a question, where can you find information? It's well advertised around campus. So the students know coming up. I know in my intro classes, I'll announce, hey, if you're interested in summer research, there's this opportunity to learn more. It comes down to if you're interested in research, if it's something that you would like to do, you want to learn more about what the field of biology or the field of chemistry or biochemistry is about, the best thing you can do is talk to your faculty member. We all love talking about our research and getting students involved. So the big thing I would tell you is just to come talk to us. And that helps to form a relationship, and it just kind of builds from there.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. Does anyone else have any last questions?
Do professors ever have kind of like, I know that some schools will have like office hours where you can just go and work with professors. I know that sometimes I'll just even voluntarily just stay after class with my teachers just so I can keep talking about things and like just finish my homework early or whatever, because I enjoy talking to the teacher about it. Are there times to do that there?
Oh yeah.
Office hours are a big thing.
Yes. So I have set office hours, but then I also have an open door policy. My students, I have a link and they can just sign up and meet with me when there's openings in my schedule and theirs. The other thing too we offer is a lot of departments have something called teaching fellows. So in the chemistry and biology departments for our intro level classes, we have a small selection of majors that have gotten training on how to teach a little bit. And so they are there in the evenings. If you have homework questions, or you want to just have a place to study, or you want to go over concepts, that's another really great resource for you, in addition to your instructor office hours. But every faculty member I know has office hours, and we definitely are available, and we love it when students come talk to us and you know, ask questions or even just study.
I will say something about teaching fellows, because I think that they're really a great resource and it's very important. When I came to school, I was like, no way, I'm going to ask for help. No way. But I went to teaching fellows a couple times, and it was probably the best decision I ever made. And they have orgo teaching fellows, organic chemistry teaching fellows, and intro teaching fellows in chemistry. And I remember during organic chemistry, I would go every single night and I would sit in the teaching fellows and do my work and ask questions when I had them. And it was always so helpful. And it was always helpful to like have things explained to you immediately when you needed them, because it's better than like trying to Google things on the internet and look it up and be like, I have no idea what's going on. So it really is just a resource of people who are there to explain things to you and to help you with whatever you have going on. And I know that there's been an initiative on campus to get them in almost every single department. So it's definitely an expanding service on campus. The sciences are pretty solid with their teaching fellow programs, but even a lot of the humanities courses and arts courses.
Social science, yeah.
So I think we have time for a couple more questions if anybody else has them.
I have a question about the geoscience program. Because I know that there's like a lot of research opportunities for biology and chemistry, but I'm wondering, like, for geoscience, I know that there's like a boat you guys have that goes out on the lake and like does research. Can you just talk about that for a little while? Like, what I know that there's like programs where you can go to like the Adirondacks and do field work and stuff. Can you just talk about that?
Yeah. So when I was a Chem 120 student, so in intermediate chemistry, I actually did a lab where I went out on the boat, collected soil and water samples from Seneca Lake, and we went back into lab and tested them for different like chemical compositions. But the geo department also uses them quite a bit to look at.
There are certain biology classes that use the research vessel as well. It's not solely used by the geoscience department. But the geoscience major does do a lot of field trips with the water that they're studying, or climate, or the rocks, going out and getting that hands-on experience. They do have a lot there. They also are really big in research as well. They have a REU, which is a research experience for undergrads. And so all of their faculty work with students. They do independent studies. So it's very similar to the chemistry department, it's just a different field of interest.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I would actually say that that department is probably one of the most active recruiters of like independent studies and like independent research. I know that they love it. Like there's so many people in that department. I would say like everyone in that department probably is doing some sort of research.
There's lots of, they have lots of different interests and different focuses. So depending on what you are interested in, you can learn what you might be interested in and take all sorts of different classes to learn more about that.
Thank you.
Are there?
Do you know if, or I obviously you'd probably know, but are there similar opportunities for, I would be majoring in environmental studies for research in that department, and kind of things that, not necessarily field trips, but things similar to what you were just talking about for environmental studies?
Yeah, actually, I actually know someone who went to Mongolia in the environmental studies program. She went with, it wasn't through the school, but it was with the professor. So he invited her to come to Mongolia with him to look into, I don't even remember what it was, but there's definitely opportunities in that department as well to get together with a professor and learn more about a research topic and conduct research on the program and form relationships. I would say that that's what it boils down to, is if you're in a department and you're forming relationships with professors, they are going to be open to doing research with you and helping you figure out what you want to do or what you like to look at.
I think the other thing with the environmental studies major is you take environmental classes, but you also can take like chemistry classes and you can take geoscience classes. And so you kind of you can bridge the gap there and get kind of some experiences from lots of different areas. I would argue environmental studies is a pretty interdisciplinary field. And so depending on, one of my research students right now is double majoring in environmental studies and chemistry. So depending on what you're interested in, the environmental studies allows you to develop skills to look at it in certain different ways, and chemistry is a whole different other toolbox as well. But I agree with Noah about, whatever you're interested in. The whole point is there are opportunities here to expand on that and to learn more by getting to know your faculty member. That's definitely a possibility.
Thank you.
Okay,
I guess
everybody. So I think that,
No, I think there was one more question.
oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was just gonna ask. I know that a lot of the sciences are really math heavy, and I, like, as someone who's really interested in science but not particularly in love with math, are there a lot of opportunities to do some like research and to learn a lot of science stuff without having to take really math heavy courses?
I would say we are in the same boat on that one. I also do not love math. Math is required. You are going to have to do some sort of math. That's inescapable. Actually, I would say that that's actually pretty across the board. I can't, off the top of my head right now, think of really a department that doesn't, even maybe writing and rhetoric or English.
Environmental studies, you don't have to take a lot of math, I don't believe. You
Nope.
could, but
Nope,
I don't think you're required to.
I was just thinking, I thought they might have a stats course, but they don't.
They don't.
But I would say math is not a barrier to you. Depending on the major, you might have to take 1 or 2 math courses, but I would say that overall, math is doesn't have to be your foundational skill in the sciences.
Perfect.
I would say math helps depending on what science you are interested in. And you might surprise yourself. You might get into a calculus class and realize you really enjoy it. So I would say don't close all the doors yet. But if that is a worry, that is something you can talk to your math professor about. Believe me, they hear that a lot. So they're there to help you succeed and to learn what skills you need. But I agree with Noah. Don't let that limit you, and just be open to what you might learn.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna wrap it up there because we're out of time. I would like to thank you all for joining us today, and Professor Stennett and I are going to drop our emails into the chat so everyone can write them down. And if you have any questions about the decision-making process, just don't feel like you can't reach out to us. Let us know if you have any further questions, and good luck in making your final decisions.